Hey, thanks for staying with us here on THV 11 Plus. Yes, Arkansas News Now starts now. I'm Ashley King with meteorologist Nathan Scott. Hope you're having a good day. It is a beautiful day.
It is a beautiful day. Unseasonably warm, lots of sunshine. Some people are loving it. And if you are, you better soak it up because we've got some changes on the way. Blue sky out there right now. Temperatures are warming up after starting off the day into the 30s. We're at 61 in Little Rock, 64 in Conway, 59 in Arkadelphia, and 61 in Monticello. Just a few high clouds down to the south. Humidity levels. We look at this when we're watching for the potential of the fire danger risk. And once you get below 20%, that's where the concern starts to add up. So Harrison, Mountain Home, North Arkansas, those humidity levels have really dropped off, and the chance of a grass fire or brush fire is going up. Not just because the very dry air in place, but because we have those winds from the southwest about 10 to 20 miles per hour. Now, those winds will help us warm up into the mid to upper 60s, low 70s in North Arkansas. Tomorrow, though, things change. We'll see windy conditions from the northwest. Temperatures will be into the mid 50s, and they continue to drop going into Thursday. I'll have more on that forecast and talk about windy conditions on your Wednesday coming up a little bit later.
A $2 billion data center is coming to Pulaski County, promising millions in investment and hundreds of new jobs. City leaders and economic groups are calling this a win, while some residents say they were left out of the conversation. THV 11's Tanya Motorzitsky breaks down the debate.
For some in Little Rock, the words data center is no longer a neutral phrase.
So nothing controversial about that.
It's another slap in the face to Arkansans who have been asking for some transparency around data centers.
City leaders are calling the latest data center announcement an economic win. It's expected to be built on the north side of 145th Street near Wrightsville. Sam Dubke with Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders' office says in a statement she believes that data centers have the opportunity to provide multi-billion-dollar investments to the Arkansas communities. While some residents like Osiris Bali with Arkansas Grassroots United is not celebrating. He's raising concerns about transparency, infrastructure, and long-term impact.
What we've seen nationally, data centers usually use up a really big percentage of the community's electricity. And not only that, the amount of water consumption and waste of the water really hurts communities. The air quality declines and as well as the noise pollution.
Jack Thomas with the Little Rock Chamber of Commerce calls the data center a great investment for the community.
You know, when you see some of the controversy that exists out there in other places, much of that is not relevant in Arkansas. And that's a credit to state and local leadership that's put regulatory framework in place to protect ratepayers and protect the general consumer.
David Palmer with Entergy says the data center will draw 150 megawatts of power, enough to power 37,000 homes. And he says it'll actually be beneficial for ratepayers.
At the end of the day, with them covering their cost to interconnect and then them contributing to standard rates like anybody else, that actually works to lower everybody's rates.
He adds there's enough energy for everyone and the grid won't be overloaded.
We don't anticipate that there's any power shortage to occur because, again, we have proposed some investments in some new plants.
Bali is encouraging people to do their own research and to speak up.
When we talk about Arkansas, we're talking about the natural state. A lot of the things that attract people to Arkansas are those outdoor opportunities and being in nature. And so the fact that these data centers bring so much climate stress currently and to the future.
In Little Rock, Tanya Motorzitsky, THV 11 News.
Construction is expected to start in the first quarter of this year and be finished by June 2027. To read the full statements from Governor Sanders and Mayor Frank Scott Jr., go to thv11.com. And a group of protesters here in Little Rock say they're reacting to new directives from Washington and the Trump administration's immigration policies. Data from the Deportation Data Project at UCLA and UC Berkeley shows around 2,700 immigration arrests in Arkansas since January of last year, and more than 450 people have been deported. Protesters we talked to say they vowed to keep rallying and to pressure the state's lawmakers in Washington, especially about the surge of ICE agents across the country.
Because of what they're doing to our cities, they are not police officers. They are doing things that they have no right to do if you look at who they are. They are not getting the training like police officers should. They've backed it up to 6 weeks training for these people, which is why the Renee Good is dead.
The Pulaski County detention roster shows 39 inmates currently have ICE holds while facing additional charges. An Arkansas woman is sharing her story after a scary moment on Interstate 30. On her drive to Little Rock from Saline County Sunday at noon, she went under the Bryant Parkway overpass, and that's where she says someone dropped a big rock onto her sunroof, shattering the glass. This is the damage it caused. Now, it could have been a lot worse if her interior sunroof cover was open, but thankfully, she says she had it closed.
I thought my side windows had been blasted out. It sounded like a gunshot or something against the windows, but as I glanced really quickly, they were all intact, and so I immediately looked up. I looked in my rearview mirror and I saw a boy, another person I couldn't identify, on the overpass looking over, and then they ran off to their left.
Roberson filed a police report hoping to find the person responsible. If you have any information that could be helpful, reach out to the Bryant Police. It's almost time to file your taxes, but before the IRS starts accepting returns, we want to make sure that you know the new changes happening to your refund. This year, you could see your tax return jump by an additional $1,000 because of changes in the Big Beautiful Bill. And certain groups may see additional special benefits. Starting with seniors 65 or older, they could get an additional $6,000 in deductions. Service industry workers are also getting relief. If you earn tips up to $25,000, could be tax-free as long as your adjusted gross income stays below the threshold. Families with children are getting help as well. The child tax credit is now permanently set at $2,200 per qualified child. Before you start counting your refund, remember everyone's situation is different. The real answer will come once you really file. You can do so from January 26th to April 15th. And still to come on Arkansas News Now, it's a cross-country road trip traveled on foot with the goal of spreading peace and comfort.
And with the dry ground in place and also low humidity and some gusty winds, the fire danger will be going up for the next several days. And here are your rain chances. It's really slim to none. That's not the best news, but we do have a small chance of rain out there tonight as a cold front makes its way through. More details on that next.
From Arkansas's fastest growing news station, this is today's THV at 5 with Ann Jansen.
What would you say, what are your favorite moments? What do you look back at and go, man, I just love it?
Having a front seat to presidential elections, regardless of how anybody feels about whatever.
Yeah.
Having that fall into our laps and having known, I mean, I met Bill Clinton for the first time when I was 16 years old, and one of my high school, Mount St. Mary's friends, she ran a Young Democrats thing, and she said, yeah, I'm having this guy, Bill Clinton, over at our house. Do you want to come? And I'm like, okay.
She's an Arkansas legend, an icon. A new episode of The Tom Show is streaming now here on THV 11+. It's part 2 of the sit down with former THV 11 anchor Ann Jansen. You can watch both parts right now.
I love those nostalgic moments. Of course, I wasn't here in Arkansas, but I'm sure there's some entertaining stories that Tom brings in, guests from the past, and it's a good time, so you definitely want to tune in. Fire danger risk. We have the elevated danger for Tuesday all the way through Thursday. That's just because we got some gusty winds, very dry air in place. It drops off somewhat Friday, but ramps right back up to the medium zone going into the weekend. And we have new burn bans that have been issued for Israel County, Sharp County, and Independence County. And I think we'll have more counties added to this list because the chance of rain, a good soaking significant rain, is just not in the cards anytime soon. Wildfire danger it's moderate, and this may also be going up for parts of the state as we go into the next few days. Temperatures out there right now, it is unseasonably warm. We've got 60s stretching from Oklahoma, pretty close to Mississippi, also Tennessee, but even off to the north. I mean, 35 at International Falls. That's just laughable for those folks, but notice the color change here. We go from the blue to the gray. That's that Arctic air waiting in the wings, and it's going to be diving its way down to the south as we go into the next few days. So unseasonably warm conditions, say goodbye to those. Once we get past today, the cold front makes its way in here late tonight and for the start of your Wednesday, and this will usher in some cooler temperatures and also very dry air. This is primarily a dry front. It will have a few showers tagging along with it as we go into late tonight and for the start of your Wednesday, but Thursday is going to be 15 to 20 degrees cooler than what we're going to see out there today. So your next 3 days, 55, windy on Wednesday, a few showers primarily in the morning. We drop down into the upper 30s, low 40s on Thursday after starting off into the 20s. And then we rebound, close out the work week Friday. Lots of sunshine, highs into the mid 50s. I mentioned the winds. Watch them really pick up as we go into Wednesday afternoon. We can see gusts easily 30 to 35 miles per hour, especially over those ridge tops. And that's why that fire danger is a concern for brush fires, grass fires, and also wildfires, because any little flame could get out of control quite quickly with these winds around, and also a very dry air mass and dry vegetation. So if you don't have to burn, just hold off. That's the best idea until we get a good soaking rain. Chance of rain, it's a very low end chance of maybe a little band of some light rain making its way through here late tonight and for the start of your Wednesday. Best chance, I think, will be for east and northeast Arkansas. And then as clouds clear out, high pressure builds its way in, and that's going to set up for a cold start to your Thursday. Chance of rain now all the way through Monday. Really, a lot of goose eggs for the most part. You'll be lucky if you see a tenth of an inch. Low forecast Thursday morning. We're dropping down into the 20s, maybe teens in Clinton, but it's going to feel like the teens and low 20s area wide to begin the day on Thursday. Tonight, 45, increasing clouds with that opportunity of some light rain showers. Well after midnight, not as cold. 55 tomorrow, partly sunny, isolated shower, but those winds, they will be whipping. And here's your 7-day forecast. Once we get past Wednesday, we'll see more sunshine, but it stays dry and temperatures feeling more like January. And that second shot of cold air for Sunday could be colder than what you're seeing there. There could be some locations that stay into the 30s throughout the day, and the temperatures try to moderate a little bit going into early next week.
A group of Buddhist monks are taking their message on the road, spreading the simple concepts of kindness, compassion, and peace as they walk across the U.S., touching the hearts and minds of everyday Americans along the way. Isabel Rosales reports.
In late October, about 24 Buddhist monks began their walk for peace with their dog Aloka, starting in Fort Worth, Texas, and going all the way to Washington, D.C. Over 120 days, the monks are walking more than 2,000 miles on foot, crossing 10 states and visiting their capitals to call for peace in the U.S. They say their purpose is rooted in spiritual devotion and civic purpose.
We are now taking on this journey to walk for peace, to raise the awareness of peace, loving kindness and compassion. Hopefully that our country and the world will be healed. Everybody will be living in unity and harmony.
Even while traveling, they continue their strict ascetic code of 1 meal per day and sleeping beneath trees at makeshift campsites. A support van follows them with supplies. They stop almost nightly in small towns along the way, using community centers, police stations, churches, historical landmarks, and other Buddhist temples to meet with people, speak, and share their reasons for walking. They're often escorted by community members and local law enforcement. Less than a month into their walk, a traffic accident in Dayton, Texas, left one monk hospitalized, and eventually one of his legs had to be amputated. He recovered and returned home to Georgia, where he was able to reunite with the monks when they reached his home temple on their path. The monks face other daily challenges, like keeping their feet and bodies healthy. The weather was cold and rainy as they traveled through Louisiana. In Mississippi, a local church organized dancers to perform for them. As their journey went on, word spread online, leading to larger and larger crowds cheering them on in Alabama and Georgia. U.S. Senator and Reverend Raphael Warnock joined a large gathering, encouraging the monks and calling for peace around the world.
And with every step they are taking, they are drawing attention to the steps that people of conscience must take to end violence.
Medical professionals in a small Georgia town even volunteered to check all the monks' health. The real star of the show might be the monks' faithful companion on the road, their dog Aloka, who has garnered almost 500,000 followers on social media. Aloka can be seen sleeping at their rest stops, walking alongside them, playing with visitors, and riding in their van for breaks. This weekend, the monks are making their way through South Carolina, on their way to the U.S. Capitol in Washington, D.C.
Peace is always begin within. And we don't have to look outward to find peace. We just have to look within.
Isabel Rosales, CNN.
Well, even in losses, Arkansas freshman Darius Acuff just keeps making history for the Hogs. What's next for John Calipari and his freshman phenom? Next in sports.
His commitment to documenting as many different kinds of people in Arkansas and in Fayetteville as he could. And that's something he told me that he very clearly remembered setting as a life goal in his 30s when he first picked up a camera and decided that he was going to be a photographer.
Andrew Kilgore was born in 1940 in Virginia. Then a short stop in Fayetteville turned into a longer stay. Known for his stunning black and white portraits, he spent his career photographing more than 30,000 Arkansans, one face and one story at a time.
What I was called to do was to photograph the most stigmatized and vulnerable people in our society, as well as everyone else.
Andrew's work, which you can see actually in these boxes stacked on the shelves there. It really, the thing about his work that has always been so impressive to me is the sheer volume. He set out to create an archive and was very intentional about doing that.
Andrew Kilgore left a lasting impression on Joshua LeMasters, one that would grow into a lasting bond.
I picked up a camera first when my daughter was born.
They met once in 2019 and not again until 2023, when LeMasters wanted to be his apprentice.
I sent him an email prompted by a Facebook post that he made, and he invited me over for coffee, and we just started a relationship from there.
Without color to distract, every line, every shadow, every expression comes to life, and Kilgore was able to capture emotion in its purest form.
2 or 3 years ago, whenever he had started kind of acknowledging his proximity to the end of his life, one thing that he always reminded me of was that a sense of humor makes getting older more bearable.
LeMasters says one of his favorite things about Kilgore was his sense of humor, and he had that until the end.
As we would review his photographs from the last 50 years, I could often see him connecting with moments in his life. And then those photographs sparking stories and memories for him. Andrew was really fond of this William Faulkner quote in the last few years: "The past isn't dead. It's not even past."
Wow, just talent. He had an eye for it. And
Yeah.
I'm glad that, he leaves behind so much art, so much beauty.
Photographers don't get enough credit. I mean, what they can capture makes you feel emotion through a photograph, depending upon if it's black and white or a color. I take a picture, I'm like, I don't feel anything.
I know it. Some people just have a
everybody has
knack.
the ability to take pictures.